Sir, you're in the wrong seat.
You're in the wrong seat.
The sentence sliced through the calm hum of the aircraft like a blade across silk. Heads turned. A woman in
His ticket
pearl
is
seated
invalid
2
for
rows
this flight,
behind
sir. You
looked
cannot
up from her
remain in this
champagne.
seat.
There must be a mistake.
The flight
This is
attendant's
my
polished
confirmed
shoes clicked
reservation.
against the cabin floor as she stepped closer.
Ma'am, please,
Posture
there must
sharp,
be some misunderstanding.
voice even sharper. Marcus Carter
He
didn't
was just
move.
sitting here quietly.
He sat in seat 2A, calm, composed, wearing a navy suit tailored but understated. No flashy watch, no designer bag, just a quiet presence that carried the weight of someone who didn't need to prove he belonged. The air in the first-class cabin shifted, that subtle electric change when power is about to be tested. Nicole, the attendant, folded her arms. Sir, this seat is assigned to another passenger. You'll need to move to economy. Across the aisle, a white woman with silver hair smirked, whispering just loud enough. He probably printed the wrong ticket. The words were soft, but they landed heavy. Marcus turned his head slightly, met her gaze, and said nothing. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now back to Marcus. He had boarded last, walking slow, greeting no one. The boarding pass in his hand read 2A First Class, confirmed. The same seat he had occupied on dozens of flights before, just not today apparently. Nicole's tone sharpened. Sir, I don't want to make a scene. Marcus looked around. Every eye in the cabin was already on them. You already have. A few passengers chuckled nervously. Nicole flushed, clutching the manifest in her hands. This isn't about you personally, it's just protocol. Protocol, Marcus repeated quietly as if tasting the word. Interesting how it always sounds the same no matter what uniform it wears. The silver-haired woman beside him leaned forward. Listen, honey, first class isn't a charity. Let the crew handle it. Marcus turned his gaze toward her, polite but unyielding. I intend to. Nicole took a step closer. Sir, if you don't comply, I'll have to call security. He smiled faintly. Then you'd better make that call fast. We're wheels up in 10. A ripple of tension moved through the cabin. Someone whispered, just let him stay. But another voice, as deeper, irritated, and countered, no exceptions. He doesn't belong here. Marcus breathed in slow, the kind of breath that came before big decisions, before board votes, acquisitions, and now, apparently, humiliation. He glanced at his boarding pass one more time, still intact, still valid, before placing it neatly on the armrest. I'll wait, he said softly, but you should know, some seats are harder to take than they look. Nicole hesitated, eyes flickering with uncertainty for the first time. She didn't know it yet, but the ground beneath her authority had already begun to shift. Outside, sunlight streamed through the oval window, glinting off the silver wing. Inside, a storm was forming, quiet, invisible, unstoppable. And at its center sat Marcus Carter, the man about to remind everyone on this flight who really owned the sky. 10 minutes earlier, everything had been calm. The jet bridge was quiet, the kind of hush that only money and exclusivity can buy. Marcus Carter moved through it without hurry, one hand in his pocket, boarding pass in the other. He wasn't late. He was watching. Every step was deliberate, almost studied. The polished floor mirrored his stride, steady and unbothered. No entourage, no briefcase handoff, no one calling him Mr. Carter. Just a man walking to his seat. He'd built entire empires from observation, acquisitions, mergers, negotiations that turned companies into legacies. Today was different. This wasn't business. It was a test. He'd read the complaints for months. Racial bias in first-class service, unequal treatment during boarding, subtle disrespect masked as procedure. His board said PR could handle it. Marcus disagreed. You can't fix what you don't face. So here he was, dressed in quiet authority, not ostentation. Jeans traded for tailored slacks, jacket plain navy, no tie. The point was to blend in, to see what happened when no one knew who he was. He'd seen the first hints already. The agent at the gate glancing twice at his boarding pass, then at his face. The pause, the practiced smile. Enjoy your flight, sir. But behind her eyes he saw it. Calculation. She didn't expect him here. Now seated in 2A, he watched the other passengers filter in. A couple in business attire. A retired woman clutching a Hermes tote like it was proof of existence. 2 younger tech bros trading jokes about stock prices. Not one of them met his eyes for more than a second. He looked out the oval window. Sunlight washed the wing in gold. The sound of loading cargo rose from below. Metal against metal, precise, rhythmic. Everything worked as designed. Until people entered the equation, the cabin lights dimmed slightly. Nicole, the flight attendant, moved with robotic grace, checking seatbelts, adjusting blankets. She smiled at everyone except him. When their eyes met, hers flicked away fast, like contact was contamination. He didn't take offense. He took note. Moments later, a new figure entered, an older, elegant white hair sculpted into control. She scanned the seats, her gaze pausing on Marcus. A flash of confusion crossed her face before softening into entitlement. She leaned toward Nicole. "There must be a mistake," she whispered, not quietly enough. Nicole nodded once, lips tight. "I'll handle it." Marcus turned his head, catching just enough of the exchange to understand everything. He'd been in rooms like this his entire life, not planes, necessarily, but places where comfort came with conditions, where his presence demanded proof. A memory surfaced. Age 27, first deal as CEO. He'd walked into a glass boardroom in Houston. The client mistook him for the driver. It wasn't anger he'd felt back then. It was confirmation. The same confirmation he felt now. 35,000 feet lower, but on the same altitude of arrogance. Nicole approached again, clipboard in hand, professional smile polished to weaponry. "Sir, may I see your boarding pass?" Marcus offered it calmly. "Of course." She took it, glanced down, and the smile faltered. Her brows knit for half a second. The system matched, but her bias didn't. "Everything okay?" he asked. She hesitated, searching for an excuse she hadn't prepared yet. The calm before the bias had ended. "Sir, I'm afraid this seat has been reassigned." Nicole's tone was measured but practiced, the kind of corporate courtesy that barely hid the sting beneath. She stood over Marcus's shoulder, one manicured hand clutching the passenger manifest like it was a weapon wrapped in paper. Marcus didn't look up right away. He finished fastening his seatbelt, checked his tablet, then met her gaze. "Reassigned when?" "Just now," she replied quickly. "Too quickly. The system updated before you boarded." He smiled, small, controlled. "That's interesting. It updated 5 minutes after I scanned in." Nicole blinked. For a moment, the air between them stilled. Then came the interruption. A white man in his 50s, silver cufflinks glinting under the cabin light, leaned into the aisle. "Miss, I believe that's my seat." His voice was soft but laced with authority, the kind that expects agreement, not answers. Nicole turned toward him with instant warmth. "Yes, Mr. Daniels, thank you for your patience." She faced Marcus again, colder now. "If you'll gather your belongings, we'll reseat you in business class." The conversation had shifted tone, and every passenger could feel it. The older woman with pearls smiled faintly, watching like it was dinner theater. One of the tech bros lowered his headphones, curiosity sparking behind his smirk. Marcus stayed still. "You're certain about that reassignment?" Nicole stiffened. "I'm following protocol." There it was again. That word. Protocol. Always the perfect disguise for prejudice. Marcus leaned back, calm as stone. "Then maybe your protocol needs an upgrade." The man Daniels chuckled under his breath. "You heard the lady, son. Let's not make this awkward, son." It hit with the precision of a slap that didn't need to land. The word hung in the air. Casual. Poisonous. Nicole's posture hardened. "Sir, I don't want to call security." Marcus's voice didn't rise, but something in it deepened. "And I don't want to repeat myself." Silence spread across the cabin like a slow ripple. Someone coughed. Another passenger shifted uncomfortably. The hum of the engine filled the void between tension and restraint. Nicole exhaled sharply. "I'm going to verify this at the front. Please wait here." She stepped away, heels striking the carpeted floor in sharp, impatient beats. The silver-haired woman beside Marcus leaned in again. "Don't take it personally, dear. Mistakes happen." He turned toward her, calm but cutting. "Mistakes end when accountability starts." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Across the cabin, Nicole was already whispering with another flight attendant, their glances darting like knives. From behind, someone muttered, "He's probably upgraded himself." Marcus heard it. He always did. He reached for his phone, opened a note file, and typed 3 words. "Testing confirmed bias." Then locked the screen. No anger. No raised voice. Just observation. the kind that built empires and dismantled them. He looked out the window again, sunlight reflecting across his calm expression. The world outside kept moving, oblivious. Inside, the storm gathered force. Marcus Carter sat motionless, not as a victim, but as a mirror. And the reflection staring back at everyone in that cabin was a truth they didn't want to see. Nicole returned to the aisle with another attendant in tow, a younger man with gelled hair and the kind of confidence that feeds on someone else's discomfort. The entire first-class cabin went quiet, as if the walls themselves were waiting to hear what came next. "Sir?" Nicole began, voice higher now, rehearsed authority dripping through every syllable. "You'll need to move. This seat has been confirmed for Mr. Daniels." Marcus didn't even look up this time. "Confirmed by who?" "The system," she said quickly. "Please stand." He closed his tablet slowly, the motion deliberate, a quiet act of control. "And if I don't?" Nicole exchanged a look with her coworker. "Then we'll have to involve the captain." A soft murmur rose from the cabin. The woman with the Hermes tote whispered, "He should just do what they say." Another passenger snorted. "He probably booked with points." Marcus heard every word. He always did. Across the aisle, Mr. Daniels stood waiting, arms crossed, smirking like the situation amused him. "It's fine," he said, voice low but patronizing. "He can sit in business class." "They'll take care of him there." "Business class?" someone repeated. Laughter flickered through the cabin, restrained, polite, cruel. Nicole forced a brittle smile. "You see, sir, we're trying to avoid a scene." Marcus finally met her gaze. "You created one the moment you assumed I didn't belong." The sentence landed like a crack in glass. The young attendant stepped forward. "Sir, please lower your tone." Marcus looked at him calmly. "I haven't raised it." The quiet that followed wasn't peace, it was pressure. Every breath, every blink carried judgment. Someone's phone camera tilted slightly, recording. Another passenger coughed to fill the silence. Nicole's veneer slipped. "Sir, I'm asking you one last time to move." Marcus leaned back, voice measured. "You're not asking. You're performing." Her jaw tightened. "Excuse me?" "You're putting on a show," he said evenly. "For them, for yourself, but mostly to protect the illusion that you're right." The young attendant whispered something under his breath, something that sounded like troublemaker. Nicole pretended not to hear it. The older woman beside Marcus finally spoke, irritation sharp in her tone. "Why can't you people ever just follow instructions?" That did it. Heads turned. Phones came out. Someone near the back said quietly, "Did she just say you people?" Marcus stayed still, every muscle in control. He could have argued, demanded, shouted, but that would have given them the ending they wanted. Instead, he looked at Nicole, calm as ice. "Call whoever you need to call," he said. "But remember, every word you've spoken today lives longer than this flight." For a heartbeat, no one breathed. Then Nicole turned on her heel, muttering something into her radio. The humiliation wasn't loud. It was surgical. Death by 1,000 small, practiced biases. But Marcus didn't bleed. He recorded, in memory and detail in silence. And as the cabin settled back into its uneasy stillness, he looked out the window and whispered under his breath, just loud enough for himself to hear. They always test the quiet ones first. The silence in the cabin had weight now, heavy, suffocating, unnatural. Everyone felt it, but no one dared to name it. Nicole stood at the front, whispering furiously into her headset, while Mr. Daniels lingered smugly beside seat 2A, tapping his platinum watch as if time itself worked for him. Marcus hadn't moved, not once. His stillness wasn't surrender. It was strategy. The young attendant shifted uneasily. "Should I get security?" he muttered. Nicole nodded sharply. "Yes, he's refusing instructions." That single sentence, that accusation, hung in the air like a verdict. But it wasn't only crew who heard it. 2 rows back, Mia Lang, the youngest flight attendant on board, froze mid-step. This was her 3rd week on the job, her first flight on the flagship route. She'd been trained to smile, serve, and stay silent. But silence had started to taste bitter. From where she stood, she'd seen everything. How Marcus had presented a valid ticket. How Nicole hadn't even scanned it properly. She'd watched the system update appear seconds after the exchange with that wealthy passenger. She'd watched truth bend under privilege, one keystroke at a time. Now watching Nicole prepare to call security on a man who hadn't even raised his voice, something in Mia snapped. She stepped forward. "Nicole," she said quietly. His pass scanned green. The cabin shifted on a tiny seismic movement of attention. Nicole turned, eyes sharp. "What?" "I was at the boarding gate," Mia continued, voice trembling but growing steadier with each word. "I saw it. His ticket's valid. The system didn't update until after—" "Enough!" Nicole hissed. "You're out of line." Mia swallowed but didn't move. "No. What's out of line is this." She gestured toward Marcus, still seated, calm amid the rising storm. "He's not the problem." A passenger near the back and a woman in a denim jacket, Gare whispered. "Is she saying what I think she's saying?" Her companion lifted his phone higher. The red record light glowed again. Marcus turned slightly toward Mia, a flicker of quiet gratitude in his eyes. "He didn't speak." "He didn't have to." Nicole's composure cracked. "You're misunderstanding procedure." Mia shot back louder this time. "No, I'm understanding it perfectly. I'm watching you use it to hide behind prejudice." The cabin broke into hushed chaos. Gasps. Whispers. Phones shifting for better angles. Mr. Daniels muttered, "Unbelievable," but his voice no longer carried the authority it once did. Nicole's face flushed red. "You're jeopardizing your job." "Maybe," Mia said, her voice trembling now for a different reason. Not fear, but resolve. "But I'd rather lose a job than my integrity." For the first time since he'd boarded, Marcus allowed himself a small, genuine smile. Not triumph, recognition. Someone else had seen. He turned his head slightly, meeting Mia's eyes. "Thank you," he said softly. Nicole spun toward him. "Sir, don't involve the staff." Marcus's tone stayed even. "I didn't." She involved herself. The words hit harder than any argument. Nicole faltered, her authority shrinking with each passing second. And as the quiet filled the space again, Mia's trembling voice cut through it. Not loud, but true. "This isn't policy," she said. "This is prejudice." No one clapped. No one spoke. But for the first time, the air inside that cabin didn't just hum with tension. It vibrated with conscience. A single witness had awakened. And nothing in that plane, not the crew, not the hierarchy, not even the lie, would ever feel steady again. The cabin wasn't silent anymore. It was alive, breathing, whispering, pulsing with disbelief. Every eye flicked between Nicole, Mia, and Marcus like watching a match burn toward dynamite. Nicole's earpiece crackled. "Cockpit to lead, confirm issue in first class." Her jaw tightened. "Nothing I can't handle," she hissed into the mic, but her voice shook. Marcus sat perfectly still. The turbulence wasn't in the air. It was in authority. Mia stood a few feet away, pale but resolute. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched her service tray. The same tray that moments ago carried champagne, now carrying conviction. "He's not doing anything wrong," she said again, quieter but clear. Nicole turned sharply. "Enough, Mia. Go check the galley." "I'm not leaving," Mia replied, barely above a whisper. A low murmur spread through the rows. Someone whispered, "She's standing up for him." Another voice, "About time." Nicole's cheeks flushed red. "Sir, for the last time, you need to vacate this seat." Marcus's tone was steady, unflinching. "And for the last time, I have no intention of moving." Her breath came out in a sharp exhale. "Then I'll have you escorted out before takeoff." "That would be a mistake," he said quietly. Nicole blinked. "Excuse me?" He looked up, finally, fully, and the authority in his eyes made the air itself pause. "You're escalating something you don't understand." Behind her, Mr. Daniels scoffed. "Understand? It's simple. You're sitting in my seat." Marcus turned his gaze toward him, slow and deliberate. "Your seat?" he asked. "Do you own it?" Daniels smirked. "I paid for it." Marcus nodded. "Then I suppose money isn't the only thing that buys access." A ripple of whispers rolled through the cabin. Someone murmured, "What does he mean by that?" Nicole squared her shoulders. "Mr. Daniels has confirmed status with us." "So do I," Marcus interrupted softly. That interruption landed like a tremor. Nicole frowned, glancing at her manifest again. Her brows furrowed. The name Carter M. blinked at her from the top of the VIP manifest, marked with a gold tag she'd ignored. Her throat went dry. "Sir," she began, but Marcus spoke first. "Go ahead. Finish your sentence." The quiet around them was thick enough to touch. Mia's voice broke through it, soft but cutting. "You saw it, didn't you?" she said to Nicole. "His name's on the list." Nicole turned toward her, furious and flustered. "Stay out of this, Mia." "I can't," Mia replied. "Not anymore." Mr. Daniels stepped forward, voice dripping irritation. "This is ridiculous. Just move him already." Marcus looked at him, not with anger but pity. "You're not used to hearing the word no, are you?" Daniels stiffened. "Watch your tone." Marcus leaned back. "I don't need to. The facts are louder." Nicole pressed her earpiece again. "Captain, I need—" But she didn't finish. Her gaze fell to her tablet, where the screen had suddenly gone dark, rebooting with the airline's internal audit seal flashing across it. Her pulse spiked. "What?" Marcus's phone buzzed once in his hand. He didn't even look at it, he already knew what it said. Audit initialized. Timestamp 1407. Cabin 1A2D under live review. He exhaled slowly, like a man who'd just set gravity in motion. Mia caught his eye. She didn't know what he'd done, not yet, but she saw it. The quiet shift from powerless to inevitable. Nicole's authority began to crack under the weight of her own mistake. The tension had tightened too far. Something was about to snap. Nicole's fingers trembled as she stared at the flickering tablet. The airline logo blinked once, then froze. The screen displayed an unfamiliar message. System lock audit in progress. Authorization required. For a moment she forgot to breathe. Mia saw it too, her eyes darting between the tablet and Marcus. He hadn't moved an inch. Just sitting there, calm as a surgeon in an operating room while everyone else panicked. "What did you do?" Nicole demanded. Marcus's gaze lifted slowly, measured, almost tired. "Nothing. I'm just waiting for honesty to catch up." Mr. Daniels barked a short, irritated laugh. "This is absurd. He's probably hacked something." Marcus turned toward him, his tone still gentle. "You think integrity is hacking?" The older man's face flushed red. "You can't talk to me like that." "I just did," Marcus replied. Nicole straightened, regaining her defensive stance. "Enough games. I'm calling the captain." But as she pressed her radio, static crackled in her earpiece. No response. The internal system was frozen too. Her throat went dry. Passengers began to murmur, soft, uneasy. A woman whispered, "Why is she panicking?" Another voice answered, "Because she just realized he's someone she shouldn't have messed with." Nicole turned back to Marcus, forcing steadiness she didn't feel. "Sir, until this is resolved, I'll have to ask you to leave the aircraft." He finally stood. The movement was slow, deliberate, like an approaching verdict. His shadow stretched across the aisle, cutting the light between them. "You're asking me to leave my own investment," he said evenly. "What are you talking about?" "The plane," he replied. "The company. The very seat you're standing beside. I fund it, I build it, and you've spent the last 10 minutes trying to erase me from it." Her mouth opened, then closed again. No words came. He leaned slightly closer, voice barely above a whisper, but every passenger heard it. "You didn't just insult a customer. Ms. Nicole, you insulted the owner." Gasps rippled through the cabin like a wave. Phones came up again, trembling in hands eager to record the impossible. Mr. Daniels stepped back. That's not true. If he owned this airline, he wouldn't be sitting here." Marcus met his gaze. "You're right. I wouldn't. But sometimes, to fix something broken, you have to sit exactly where the cracks begin." Nicole's knees felt weak. You can't prove that." As if on cue, her tablet rebooted. The company dashboard reappeared but this time, the display glowed with a name she hadn't expected to ever see. Executive Override. Carter. Marcus. Board Director. Every letter might as well have been a hammer blow. The younger attendant beside her muttered under his breath, "Oh my God." Marcus exhaled softly, almost mercifully. "You could have just checked the list before deciding who belongs." Nicole's lips trembled. I didn't know," he nodded once. "You never asked." The tension snapped. Not with shouting, not with rage, but with silence. The kind that follows realization. For the first time, Nicole looked around and saw what Marcus saw from the moment he boarded. A room full of witnesses, each one holding up a mirror. The truth wasn't just out. It was recorded, remembered, and replaying across a dozen phones. Marcus glanced toward Mia. "You did good," he said quietly. And then, turning back to Nicole, his voice now the weight of finality, "You wanted a scene. This is it." He sat down again, as calm as when he arrived. Outside, the engines roared to life. Inside, a career was about to end. Nicole stood frozen, staring at the tablet like it had turned to stone in her hands. The line of text glowed steady. Executive override. Carter Marcus, board director. No one spoke. No one moved. The first-class cabin felt smaller now, like the air itself had shifted allegiance. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The truth had already done the shouting for him. He reached for his phone, the same quiet motion as before, thumb sliding across the screen with deliberate calm. On the other end of the call, a woman's voice answered instantly. "Mr. Carter?" "Rachel," Marcus said softly. "Begin an internal flag on Flight 224, Cabin 1, timestamp 1423. Record everything from the manifest to the crew logs." "Yes, sir. Full compliance?" "Full," he replied. Nicole's head snapped toward him. "Sir, you can't just—" "I can," Marcus interrupted, still calm. "You'll find the manual under your training binder. Section 7. Her lips parted, but no sound followed. Mia stood off to the side now, eyes wide. She'd heard the tone before, and that low, measured register of someone who didn't bluff. A man used to commanding hundreds of employees, millions in motion, billions in trust. And yet he spoke like this wasn't power, it was accountability. Passengers whispered to each other. "He's really the boss? Wait, he owns the airline? How did they not know?" Nicole turned to the young male attendant for backup, but he looked away. Whatever side he was on 5 minutes ago, he wasn't anymore. Rachel's voice came through again, clear and professional. "Do you want executive HR alerted, sir?" "Yes," Marcus said. "And legal. Forward the recording to my office and the board inbox. This needs to be handled before landing." "Understood." "Mr. Carter." The line clicked off. He set the phone down on the armrest. The smallest sound in the cabin, yet it rang like a gavel. Nicole tried again, her voice thin. "Mr. Carter, I didn't realize," Marcus looked up, his expression unreadable. "That I belonged here?" Her eyes dropped. "That you were worthy of respect?" He finished for her. The silence stretched. It wasn't cruel. It was clean, the kind of silence that left no excuses standing. Behind them, Mr. Daniels was shrinking into his seat, the confidence gone from his posture. He muttered something about a misunderstanding, but the words died in his throat. Mia took a cautious step forward. "Mr. Carter," she said softly, "should I—" He stopped her with a small shake of his head. "You've done enough. Integrity doesn't need permission." Her eyes glistened. No one had ever said words like that to her in uniform. Nicole swallowed hard. "Sir, what happens now?" Marcus leaned back, his gaze steady, voice level as a pilot's before takeoff. "Now, we document, we correct, and we make sure no one else ever goes through this again." He tapped his phone once more, a single command sent. Somewhere in the airline's server, a new file opened. Incident 224 audit. The system began recording. And for the first time that day, justice wasn't waiting. It was already boarding. Rumors move faster than planes. Within minutes, the energy inside the cabin had changed from tension to tremor, the kind that spreads without a word. A couple in row 3 leaned toward each other, whispering. The tech bros who had smirked earlier now scrolled through their phones, pretending to check messages but recording under the tray table. Every screen caught the same truth. The man they'd watched get humiliated was the man signing the paychecks of everyone on board. Nicole stood stiff, her face drained of color. Her authority, once towering, now hung by a thread. Mia tried to focus on the aisle, but every glance she caught was filled with silent sympathy. At the front, Mr. Daniels fumbled with his cufflinks, whispering into his phone, "Yeah, something's happening. The guy's claiming he's a board member or something." The person on the other end must have answered because Daniels froze, eyes darting toward Marcus. "Wait, Marcus Carter? The Horizon Carter?" The words left his mouth louder than he meant them to, and just like that, the rumor became fact. A ripple of voices followed, a soft crescendo. "He owns the airline. That's the CEO's partner company, right? Oh my God, it's real." Marcus didn't flinch. He sat in quiet command, the embodiment of patience that only comes from power so deep it no longer needs to announce itself. Nicole, desperate to regain control, lifted her chin. "Passengers, please remain calm," she said, her voice cracking. "There's been a misunderstanding." Mia stepped forward gently. "The misunderstanding was assuming he didn't belong," she said, not loudly, but enough for row 1 to hear. One of the tech bros whispered, "She's right," another passenger muttered. "This is wild," raising his phone higher. Marcus turned slightly, his voice carrying just enough to fill the space without effort. "I came here to test policy compliance. I didn't expect to fail it this fast." A quiet laugh rippled through the cabin, not mockery but relief. The sound of truth finally finding air. Nicole's composure was unraveling. "Sir, I never intended—" He stopped her gently. "Intentions don't fix damage. Systems do." Then his phone buzzed once. A notification flashed across the screen. "Audit in progress, HR, legal, PR teams notified." He exhaled, calm as ever. "Correction has begun." The pilot's voice broke through the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a brief delay before departure. Please remain seated." The passengers exchanged looks. They knew exactly what the delay was. Mr. Daniels swallowed, looking straight ahead now, unable to meet anyone's eyes. His power had evaporated with the illusion. Mia took a small breath, shoulders straightening. The kind of breath that comes when someone realizes they've done something right, even if it costs them later. Nicole's radio crackled and a voice came through. Calm, official. "Lead attendant Nicole Reynolds, please report to the cockpit immediately." Her pulse spiked. Marcus didn't look at her, didn't gloat, didn't move. He simply said, "You should go. They're waiting for you." She turned toward him, words trembling. Are you firing me?" He shook his head once. "I'm not. The system is." The silence that followed was deeper than shame. It was recognition. The quiet reckoning that happens when hierarchy meets humanity. Mia stood rooted to the spot, watching Nicole walk away down the aisle, her posture rigid but breaking with every step. For the first time since boarding, the passengers looked at Marcus not as an intruder, not as a curiosity, but as what he'd always been, the man who owned the sky they were flying in, and somewhere, beyond the cabin door, the rumor had already left the plane, spreading through terminals, control rooms, and offices. By the time they landed, it wouldn't be a rumor anymore, it would be policy. Nicole's footsteps echoed down the narrow aisle like a countdown. Every stride toward the cockpit stripped another layer of her certainty. She clutched her radio, whispering into it, but all she got was static. The door hissed open. A muffled conversation started inside, and then silence. The passengers watched her vanish behind that door like a disappearing act they'd all been waiting for. Marcus didn't move. He didn't gloat, didn't even smile. He simply rested his elbows on the armrest, fingers steepled, calm, unreadable, inevitable. Mia hovered a few rows away, torn between awe and disbelief. The man she'd defended, the man she thought was just another tired traveler, had become something else entirely. Not a passenger, not a victim, a reckoning in a suit. 5 minutes passed. Then the cockpit door opened. The captain stepped out, a seasoned man with silver hair and the weight of command in his eyes. His tone was careful, so formal, but edged with humility. "Mr. Carter," he said, voice steady. "My apologies for the misunderstanding. We were unaware you were on board." Marcus nodded once. "I know," the captain hesitated. "Is there anything I can do to correct the situation?" "Yes," Marcus said softly. "Start by correcting your culture." The words landed like thunder in a whisper. Mia's breath caught. Even the passengers who'd been whispering now sat still, eyes forward, as if afraid to disturb the moment. From the cockpit, Nicole emerged again, pale, shaken, headset gone. The captain gave her a nod that wasn't a request but an order. "Ms. Reynolds, you're relieved of duty for this flight. Please disembark." She froze. "Captain," he cut her off. "Now." The silence that followed was a verdict. Nicole's eyes darted toward Marcus, 1,000 apologies hovering on her tongue but none making it out. She stepped aside, collected her bag with trembling hands, and began the long walk back down the aisle. Phones rose again. Some passengers recorded, Others pretended not to, but everyone knew. This wasn't gossip anymore. It was history. As she passed Marcus, he didn't look at her. He just said quietly, "Next time, see people, not profiles." Her steps faltered for half a heartbeat, then she kept walking. The captain inclined his head respectfully. "We'll be ready for takeoff soon, sir." "Take your time," Marcus replied. "Good things fly better when they start on solid ground." The captain gave a faint smile and disappeared back into the cockpit. Mia approached cautiously. "Sir, are you going to report her to corporate?" Marcus looked out the window, the tarmac glowing beneath the afternoon light. "It's already handled," her brow furrowed. "How?" He turned toward her, expression calm, words precise. The system was watching long before the cameras were. Her eyes widened, not in fear, but in understanding. This wasn't revenge. It was accountability wrapped in dignity. A soft ding announced the cabin door sealing shut. Engines hummed low, steady. Across the aisle, passengers exchanged looks of quiet respect, no applause, no spectacle. Just the heavy realization that they'd witnessed something irreversible. As the plane began to taxi, Marcus leaned back, voice low enough for Mia to hear. They always say justice takes time. But sometimes it only takes a flight. Outside, sunlight flooded the runway. Inside, truth had taken off first. The engines purred, but the real noise was silence, thick, electric, alive. Every passenger sat upright now, no one pretending to scroll or sleep. They all knew they were inside a story that would live far beyond this flight. Nicole was gone. The air seemed lighter without her tension pressing against it. Yet in the front row, Mr. Daniels still looked unsettled, a man desperate to reclaim dignity after losing his illusion of control. He cleared his throat. "Mr. Carter," he said finally, the tone shifting from arrogance to apology. "I didn't mean to." Marcus lifted a hand slightly, stopping him. "I'm sure you didn't, but meaning isn't the problem. Habit is." The words hit harder than any accusation. Daniel sat back, quiet, chastened. Marcus picked up his phone again, the same device that had started everything. One swipe, one tap, and a call connected. "Rachel," he said. "Yes, sir." "Transfer a live call to the cockpit feed. I want the crew looped in." "Done," Rachel replied without hesitation. A small chime sounded from the speakers above, and then Rachel's composed voice filled the cabin. "This is Rachel Collins from the Executive Office of Horizon Airlines. Mr. Carter, your instructions have been acknowledged. The audit file has been escalated to legal. Would you like to proceed with termination protocol?" Every passenger heard it. Every breath held. Marcus's tone didn't change. "Yes, begin with Ms. Reynolds, the lead attendant. Effective immediately. Remove all system access." "Confirmed." The tablet Nicole had left behind blinked from black to red. "Access revoked." Rachel continued. "The attending staff listed under her command. Leave Mia Lang out of it," Marcus interrupted gently. "She did the right thing." "Understood, sir." The line went quiet for a beat before Rachel added, "Corporate HR and PR have been briefed. This recording will be used for internal retraining. Do you wish to release a public statement?" Marcus looked around the cabin. The witnesses, the faces, the weight of what had just unfolded. "No, the truth doesn't need a press release. It already travels faster than lies." "Understood, Mr. Carter. Protocol complete." The chime ended, leaving the cabin steeped in stillness again. Mia stood near the galley, her hand covering her mouth, eyes bright with disbelief. Marcus turned to her. "You still want this job?" She blinked, uncertain. I don't know anymore." He smiled faintly. "Then you're exactly the kind of person we need leading it." Her breath caught. "Sir?" He nodded toward the cockpit. "After landing, you'll report to corporate. I'm recommending you for management training." A soft gasp came from someone nearby. It wasn't just justice, it was reversal. Mr. Daniels finally spoke again, quieter this time. "You really are who they say you are." Marcus's reply was calm, but heavy with meaning. "No, I'm who you didn't believe I could be." Outside, the sky stretched wide, the plane rolling steady toward takeoff clearance. Rachel's final message buzzed through his phone. "Action complete. Crew removal confirmed." Marcus set it face down on the tray, the faint hum of the engines blending with the heartbeat of a new order taking shape. He glanced toward the window, the wing glinting in the sun, and said softly, not to anyone in particular. Accountability isn't cruelty. It's gravity. It keeps everything from floating away. The passengers sat in reverent quiet. No applause, no chatter, just reflection, and the faint realization that power, when held with grace, didn't have to shout. Marcus Carter leaned back, exhaling as the plane finally lifted off. Justice. Airborne. The plane climbed through the cloud line, slicing into a sky so bright it looked almost unreal. For the first time since boarding, the cabin felt weightless, not just from altitude but from truth finally allowed to breathe. Marcus sat back, eyes closed for a moment. The hum of the engines was steady, rhythmic, a perfect contrast to the storm that had come before. He wasn't smiling, but there was peace in his stillness, the kind that follows resolution, not revenge. Across the aisle, Mia poured coffee for a passenger with trembling hands, her nervousness softened by pride. When Marcus glanced up, she offered a small, respectful nod. No words, just mutual understanding. Courage had consequences, and she'd accepted hers. A few rows back, Mr. Daniels stared out the window, the arrogance scrubbed clean from his expression. He looked smaller now, not physically but spiritually, a man who'd glimpsed his own reflection and didn't like what he saw. The intercom chimed softly. The captain's voice carried through the cabin, calm and measured. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We'd like to apologize for the earlier delay. We're now cruising at 36,000 feet and everything is under control." The phrase "under control" felt different this time. Real. Earned. Marcus turned his gaze to the clouds outside. They rolled like waves beneath him. Soft, endless, unbothered by the noise of human judgment. For a fleeting second, he remembered why he built this company in the first place. Not just for travel, but for transformation. He reached for his tablet and opened the audit file, still recording in real time. The log shimmered with data, timestamps, dialogue snippets, passenger witness notes, video metadata. All evidence. All truth. He typed one final entry. Bias is turbulence. The only way through it is steady control. Then he pressed save. From behind, a woman spoke, the one with the Hermes tote. Her voice was hesitant. "Mr. Carter, I didn't realize," he turned slightly, his tone even, "that I could own what you assumed I couldn't." Her cheeks flushed. "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry," he said gently. "Be aware. That's where change starts." Her eyes watered just slightly. "You're right." The moment hung there, and fragile, human, necessary. A soft announcement broke it. "Flight attendants, please prepare for service." Mia approached again, this time with steadier hands. She placed a glass of sparkling water on Marcus's tray. "For you, sir." He nodded. "Thank you, Mia." As she turned to leave, he added quietly, "Remember, integrity isn't a position. It's a posture." Her eyes flicked back, shining. "I'll remember that." He leaned back, the glass catching the light. The reflection of the clouds shimmered across it, white against blue, endless and clear. Then he spoke softly, to no one and everyone at once. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply ascends. A few passengers clapped quietly, hesitant at first, then genuine. It wasn't celebration, it was relief. The camera would have faded there. Marcus Carter framed by sunlight. Power and humility balanced in equal measure. The hum of engines rising behind him like applause from the heavens. Voiceover, steady and cinematic, would carry the final truth. Dignity doesn't demand validation. It defines it. And power, when silent, can move mountains or airlines. As the plane cut through the horizon, Marcus closed his eyes again. Not to rest, but to rise, because justice had already landed.